music. It's Sunday. It's time for High Off the Glass. This is OThaGreat in the building. How are y'all doing, y'all? 3119 Hampton Avenue, Overtime Studios, My City, My Music. I am very happy to be here, y'all. We got my co-host in the building. This is the first one of 2024. So let's give, we got to give 2024 some props. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We got this new year. Right on. So happy that we finally made. I like the little snap by our guest today. What is it? What's this? January 7th? 7th, 2024, year of our Lord. How's everybody doing out there today? I am joined today by my co-host, Maxx Dollars, is in the building.
What's up, people?
With the Club Shay Shay hoodie, which is so timely. Bro, like, you nailed it with that hoodie. We are going to talk about, we're going to jump into that, of course, that Cat Williams later. Did you watch it?
Of course.
Did you watch it, Coach? You saw clips. Ace, did you see any of it?
Fill me in.
Oh, okay. We will later. It was amazing. Coach Damon is in the building, y'all. Coach Damon is in the house. He said a lot of stuff, bro. Don't hate like usual. Classic Coach. Got to shit on something that's dope. I shit on Jordan. I shit on Candy. I should just anything dope. Let me shit on it. But let me bring in my guest because I'm very happy to have this sister along with us today. This young woman is deep in the hip hop culture in St. Louis, the cannabis culture in St. Louis, just being cool with people in St. Louis, folks that are in both of those cultures that know folks. They know Ace. And I am so happy to have her. This is Ace Rowe, y'all. Let's give it up for Ace. Welcome. What up, Miss Lady? How you doing, Cutie?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are more than welcome. I am happy to have you here. You look great, like usual.
Y'all do too.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Like I said, like, and I mean that. Like, when it comes to hip hop here, music culture, you are in it, and it's not just hip hop. Like music, you are in it, and cannabis culture, you have been around the gamut. You know what I'm saying? You have seen some stuff.
It's been exciting here in St. Louis. I'm not actually from here, so, I'm trying to always get activated wherever I can. And one of my favorite things to do in life in all circles is connect people with new thoughts, new people, new music, new ideas, new ways of life, you know? So connecting people to something they may not be hip to already.
That's why you dope, and that's why I mess with you. And this sister, y'all, just want to let y'all know, when Intersection came last year, she hooked me up with tickets to see Pharoah Monch. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like this woman blessed me with that and introduced me to the young hip hop culture that we have here. And I'm talking about MCs that you don't expect. And I had one already. I had Supreme on. I had Davey Napalm on last year. I want to have A-Bomb. I want to have.
Oh yeah, Armani A-Bomb.
Armani A-Bomb. I want to have A-Bomb on. A-Bomb is cold as shit. You know what I'm saying? I want to have that dude on. And this sister, if it wasn't for Ace, I wouldn't have known none of these people. And I'm talking about when you hear these cats, Coach, you would love it because you're a big hip hop dude. When you hear it, they don't sound like St. Louis. They don't sound like St. Louis. They don't sound like the Midwest. These cats sound like 90s MCs. I'm not even bullshitting. Hard.
What's sounding like St. Louis?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, hip hop is hip hop.
To me, sounding like St. Louis is auto-tune, mumbling, not really saying shit. That's the kind of
about the ers and the thers.
Yeah, not even that. I ain't tripping off the slang. It's just
production wise.
Yeah, it's like the same kind of beats, and it's not even a St. Louis thing. I don't want to label that to St. Louis. That's like everywhere now. Like the prominent, the hip hop, exactly. The hip hop that gets put on full blast doesn't really say shit. And the beats are trash. But
we was talking about the St. Louis comment that you made.
Yeah, I feel you. And
like ain't no MCs ever from St. Louis?
Right. No. Never said that. But these cats are super raw.
It's a new wave, and it's coming in strong for sure. I know another set of artists to get your ears on would be the new Darkwood release by Franco and Connie Caro.
Okay.
I know them as Darkwood, and they got a great new release too.
Bet. All right, well, we'll definitely get into them.
Yeah.
And so here it is, Ace. You know how we do it on the show. Just like I told you, like my co-hosts know, I like to know who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I want to know you from Giddy Up to January 7th, 2024. So I guess, you okay?
Yeah,
okay,
great.
Right
Yeah, we're best buds now.
All right. I mean, we get the Overtime Studio dog is always loves new people.
They're so sweet.
They are. So I know I don't know this, but your phone, and I love how out-of-state people keep their out-of-state numbers. So you know what I'm saying?
I switched to the 314 number, and I did switch back.
Oh,
yeah.
you did? There you go, girl. That's how you do it. So you're from. I see a VA number. Are you from VA?
Yes,
Okay.
I grew up on the East Coast. My family lived in Alexandria when I was born.
Alexandria, VA.
When I was born, that's where they were living, and then I would say I grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Okay.
And that's one of those places, Virginia just overall is you throw a pebble and you're gonna hit something historic. Like it's just entrenched in history, and I'm grateful to have grown up there because I looked at a map later on in life and realized that they're one of the highest rated for public education. So I'm super grateful for where I've come from.
There you go.
To be able to have go into college with enough, AP credits and be able to come here and feel like, an adult or whatever.
Virginia.
Fredericksburg, yeah.
Fredericksburg, Virginia. Shout out to y'all for y'all educational system. Okay.
Yeah, they did all right. I think it tanked after I left. I think that, unfortunately, I don't think teachers are as prioritized as they should be in our current society, unfortunately. But I hope for an education revolution. I think that would be amazing for the future of everyone. But both my parents grew up here in St. Louis in some way or another. They actually lived across the street from each other when they were like toddlers, so they got that all fairy tale sort of story.
Okay.
But my dad loves coffee, and my mom drank tea, and my dad likes beer. My mom drinks wine. My dad loves Rush. My mom hates Rush. And my mom loves Bruce Springsteen. My dad hates Bruce Springsteen. We all love Supertramp though, and so even though they came,
I mean that's Bruce. That's how he talks.
Yeah, I mean. And I love all of my, my parents' favorite stuff too, but, that kind of is like, yeah, they had the fairy tale, and I always believe that opposites attracted, and that, even though I didn't find them to be very similar growing up, I was like, oh, they made a commitment in marriage and decided to stick with it, and I was like, oh, I was wrong about that.
Right.
They divorced when I was a freshman in high school, and so it's kind of like the tale as old as time, right?
Right.
Really try and make something work for the story of it, right?
No doubt.
Instead of what's real. And so, when I graduated college from Florida State, I wanted to see what was up with St. Louis, and my grandma was still living here, so I moved here.
That's how you got here. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, to go back real quick, like childhood with them, was it, like you said, I guess it was what it was supposed to be.
They were really chill, I'm realizing now my parents were really good about avoiding the uncomfortable at times. So, it's been a growing and learning journey since then for sure.
Right.
I got two younger brothers. Will was in the Navy for a little bit. He's now doing like contract work on, parallel. He's a carbon copy of my dad. My dad's retired Navy.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And the cool part is my mom's like a travel agent. She had to get her own line of income after the divorce and everything. So and I love going on travels with my mom because she's always finding that off beaten path a little bit, and she's got the right accommodations and whatnot. Yeah, so they instilled the travel bug in me early. And then Christopher's my youngest brother. He's my big brother, and he's my first family member that I smoked cannabis with.
There we go.
Yeah,
I was going to that. Okay.
And he played football growing up, but I was telling you I was recently watching The Last Dance, and I was like, man, my brother was taught up on the gospel of Michael Jordan.
Exactly. The GOAT. Yeah.
Yes, if you can embody Michael Jordan in all aspects of life, you're probably going to be on that winning team.
Pretty much.
In interpersonal relationships and when I think of like the 4 agreements, I think of like doing your best always. And Christopher's just someone, even though he's younger than me, I absolutely look up to my younger brother for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he did. He was on football with Elon, college football with Elon University.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Sorry, yeah. Elon. I always forget everyone thinks Elon Musk when I say Elon.
I sure was worried. I'm like, what? I know Elon Musk ain't play no football.
No, maybe Australian football or something. Right. I don't know.
Said it's in North Carolina.
Oh, okay. That's
Yes,
what's up.
yes.
All right.
In the Carolinas.
All
Yeah.
right. So how was that that first experience with your? First off, how old were you?
Yeah.
And how was that first experience smoking with your brother?
I think Christopher was 14. I was 18, maybe I had just turned 19.
Okay.
It was really great. We were
Laughing.
laughing.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
a lot of laughing. Growing up, Christopher's known to be a chatterbox, so it was
Yeah.
also kind of like observing that. Like, it was what I love about cannabis too is it gets us to this like childlike wonder and like, you know, I was brought up in the United Methodist Church, so it's like as you know, getting through the eye of the needle, right? Is by being through in childhood innocence.
Super religious?
I wouldn't say I'm super religious.
No, the upbringing.
Not particularly. We were going regularly, and I was actually opting in for the youth program on my own.
Okay.
You know, it was not something that was pressured.
Okay.
It was something that I enjoyed because of being in congregation, being in community.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Time.
yeah.
There
And
you
I, you know, there was a contemporary part of the church, so there was also playing music
For sure.
as well to,
Okay.
you know, for the praise band every once in a while
That'll
too.
work.
Yeah, I did a sermon in my junior prom. Instead of going to junior prom,
Oh.
I did
sermon?
a sermon.
That's dope.
Yeah, there was the connection to Ezekiel when he goes to the top of the mountain. He's trying to hear the word of God, and he sees the mountain, the earthquake, and God wasn't in the earthquake, and the big wind, and God wasn't in the wind, and the big fire, and God wasn't in the fire, but God was in the silence.
Yeah.
Like, so I related that back to learning how to drive with my dad, and my dad was like, sometimes you gotta turn off the radio and listen to the road, and the road's gonna tell you that story. And like, yeah, kind of, it's something I still relate to, and like turn inward and like listen inward on like what is really, where's the silence and where is that spirit between all of us that we can kind of tune into instead of being loud and flashy and trying to
distracted.
yeah, always going for an experience or something like that. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
In your experience growing up, are you more like your mom or are you more like your dad?
Oh man. Oh, that's a great question. So I let's hit this before I
Right,
answer
this
that
motherfucker-
question.
Coach, no, it ain't your fault. Ain't your fault, King.
Yes, go
This
ahead.
motherfucker Coach will roll up 3 L's and keep them all for Dolo. Like, what the hell? Like,
You don't smoke tobacco.
I don't, but do you see anything else
Right,
over here to
So,
smoke?
out of courtesy, right?
I'm saying,
Coach?
you know,
He's just being nice.
At least offer. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So my dad is a Taurus like myself, so I see a lot of similarities with me and my dad, but and thankfully I have a good working relationship with both of them, and you know, I love my mom, and I think we kind of recognize each other a little bit more on like a emotional level, but you know, yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit of a 50-50. I would say Will is very much like my dad.
Yeah, because that's what it sounded like. Your older brother, or the one that went to the Navy, was like your father.
Yeah.
The younger one seems more like your mom because he's a chatterbox. Not saying your mom's a lot, but she seems like a free spirit.
They're really connected.
Yeah.
You know, youngest boy, a youngest child, and a mom. They're
Right,
very
right.
connected
The
for
umbilical
sure. Last
cord is
one to
still
leave
there.
the house, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I feel like I'm a good aspect of both. And
yeah.
my parents, you know, they said their goal was to raise 3 independent children, and that's what they got, even if it bit them in the butt later on.
Yeah.
tell us this.
Yeah.
Tell us the time frame that we're talking about.
Growing up.
Right. It was like late 90s, 2000s.
Yeah, so we moved to Fredericksburg in 1999, and Fredericksburg is not far from, you know, it's just an hour, 45 minutes outside of D.C., so a couple years later we have 2001, of course, and 9/11, and that really, you know, I remember being in third grade when that happened, dating myself a little bit, but I just turned 30 last year.
You were in 3rd grade when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and kids were going home from school because kids' parents were in D.C.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
it was extra rough for y'all being on the East Coast. Hell yeah, and being right there.
I didn't quite understand what was happening. For me, there's like before 9/11 and after 9/11. Like
No
for
doubt.
me, I see the 90s
doubt.
as a period of peace, even though that's maybe not like accurate for the world or whatever. But you know, it seems life got extra complicated after that. Not just like not day to day, but just kind of, you know, the broad strokes of life for everyone or whatever.
Everybody's conscious woke up.
I mean, we just took a step towards further globalization, and I think that like that's part of why it happened. Was the East was like, y'all are affecting us and you don't want to pay attention at all. And in a globalized world, it's like there's so much more than just we're our country, you're your country, but there's so much going on between all of us, like as nations. Like
what do you remember? What do you remember? Excuse me. What do you remember specifically from that day? The reason I'm asking that, like your mother, I was a travel agent at the time, and specifically on that day, was she a travel agent then?
She wasn't a travel agent then. No. I mean, I think, my parents' relationship wasn't on the rocks until like his dad passed. Really, I think it was when they were starting to kind of face those circumstances.
When your grandfather passed?
Yeah, and that was in 2006. So, 2001, like I remember coming home from after we were doing some vocabulary or spelling game, because like my teacher was just like, we're going to gamify the rest of the day because people are going out the door, like we're losing students because they're getting taken out of school and stuff.
Right.
I remember watching the news with my mom and my mom kind of trying to explain, and I was a little confused because I'm like, aren't all those buildings in different places? And like
you don't know the world is that big.
I don't I don't even know if I've asked my brothers what they remember, because them being 3 and 5 years younger than me.
Right. That is crazy. The one thing I do want to go back to real quick before we move it forward, you said you didn't smoke until you were 18, 19 years old?
That's the conservative,
help me out with
DC, I'm good right now. The, like, DC suburbs, it was just everyone was in the Navy or the Army or the Air Force or the CIA or civil service. Like everyone was working for the government or the military. Right. And so it was a matter of someone's dad worked for the FBI. Like if I was getting, even when, so then I went to Florida State, so it was moving out of state to really
open your eyes a little
bit. My gosh,
right.
Fredericksburg's a great place to grow up, but not a great place to like explore, and that was almost a direct quote from my dad. Like that's why they picked where we were living. If I had lived in Alexandria growing up, I definitely would have been exposed earlier for sure.
Why Alexandria? That's
closer to DC, more I think more connection to like the arts and music and culture scene. I think I can't, aside from like really stuffy galleries and me being in the music program, it wasn't like there was a music or arts culture in Fredericksburg. I mean, it's more of like a suburban community kind of vibe. I mean, I love going back. If you go to downtown St. Charles, it gives me big downtown Fredericksburg, like colonial vibe.
I bet. I believe that. Yeah, 100%.
So my jaw dropped when I went to St. Charles the first time. I was like, what? I was like, or it was kind of interesting to see like, all right, it's colonial on the East Coast with Fredericksburg, and then you get to this like slightly more modern, just based on the era, just like 1700s versus 1800s sort of difference in terms of how it was built up or whatever.
Do you go back anytime?
When have I been to Fredericksburg last? I think it was maybe April 2017, maybe August. I think it's been a minute. Yeah, my dad still lives there, but my dad often, because his mom lived here in town, so he would come to visit me. He came and visited me over Thanksgiving last year.
Yeah. Nice.
I think I visit the Carolinas more because my mom moved to New Bern, North Carolina, and then my grandma lives in Seneca, South Carolina. So
I
understand.
Did she move from St. Louis?
Yeah, she was living here for like over 5 decades.
Wow.
Yeah, in the same house. The house was built the year she was born.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my grandma loves the symphony, St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. She loves the St. Louis Art Museum. I wanted to take her to the culture exhibit so bad.
No doubt.
Because I've had tough conversations with my grandma about living in Clayton, and during 2020 I was mailing her stuff because I was in a book club for So You Want to Talk About Race, and she was like, so she received the book and she was like, so why do we have to talk about race? And I was like, Grandma, you were an RN. Yeah. You recognize we all bleed the same blood. And it was, it was a conversation, and I don't think I fully finished. Like, I had to walk away a little bit just because.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
In your conversation with your grandmother,
Yeah.
is it, and I say this politely, a brainwash in the time frame? Because each moment in time that we live, each decade, you are stuck with whatever time frame that is, right? In the 90s, you were a certain way. In 2000s, you were a certain way, you know? But with
unless you can think outside the box.
Unless you can think outside the box, right? Did you feel like with that conversation with your grandmother, she was still stuck back then?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's brainwashed, sure. I guess if that's the label that we're going to put on it. I think
not forcefully though, just
I also think like it's once you get to a certain age, are you really able to change how you think?
Right.
And like, you know, that's a lesson I'm learning now. That's like and that's I really hope for, you know, leadership in the future to be younger than it is now for that reason, because of the flexible logic of, I've got new information. This changes what it all means. So for me, it was, you know, and this is almost pretty much a direct quote, but I asked my grandma, I was like, you live in Davis Place in Clayton. Like, if someone, a family of color wanted to move in next door, they would have to be of a certain means. They'd have to be a lawyer, a doctor. They would be contributing to their society to take care of their family and live in a good school district and everything like that. And I was like, what's the harm in them moving next door? And my mom or my grandma was like, I just don't want to hear their culture. It's loud. And like reference it as a different language. I'm like, I guess it could be classified as a different language, but it's a dialect and it's still English and they're still American and they're still human.
Right. That leads me to my question. Two things. One, since you went to
that's hilarious.
Since you went to Florida State.
Yeah.
I sure want
to show you that real quick.
This guy.
I have something so cool to tell you that I'm so excited.
Right.
So
my next my question is though, with you saying,
we repping you on that ass. Shit. It just for the audio audience.
It was University of Miami Hurricanes.
With what you just said and what you had stated previously, as in the movie Brown Sugar, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
The Tribe Called Quest documentary from when I went to Florida State. That's when it was coming out. Was 2011. Yeah.
Okay.
I think and before that
was Called Quest doc by Michael Rappaport.
I think so. And
he made that.
And
I remember.
It was a good doc.
It was a good doc.
And
Michael
then
Rappaport
before
is a
that
dick,
though
that's a
was
good
my
doc.
brother Christopher was introducing. Well, and I love Childish. I love Community. Community is my favorite show. I love Childish Gambino. But Christopher furthered our hip hop education, and he instilled the love of Mac Miller into me. Mac Miller went on college tours, and my brother saw him twice in Fredericksburg at the college and at University of Mary Washington. And so he's got pictures of him as a small Christopher in these pictures with Mac. And so
those are memories.
And so I was in the music program, so Christopher was like, "You're really gonna like some of Mac's stuff because of the like he's got some jazz albums."
They introduced.
So my younger brother really, and he was on the sports teams and stuff. So he was getting that culture from his cohorts, from his teammates.
So Cold Pizza was the one that got you?
Let's see. It was definitely like a Childish Gambino mixtape early on, and I couldn't tell you which one. I know it's maybe Childish
Gambino had a good one. He had the Blake Griffin song and stuff back then, and then Mac Miller had a Cold Pizza. You know, so that era was fire. Was Mac Miller when he was coming up. It was hot.
That's what's up. They have their own show. Don't worry about them.
No,
they do their own thing. They do.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Pizza, I was only thinking of like that was the name of First Take.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, why did he bring up Cold Pizza? That's the same thing I thought.
I don't listen to dudes.
Same thing I thought of, fam.
That's the first thing that popped.
Thank you. Thank you.
The other thing, to answer your other question,
all the way.
My band director ran the marching band program and the whole music program almost like the military. He was really super strict.
How long were you at FSU?
4 years.
You graduated?
Yeah.
Look at you. Quick, girl.
I'm still back in high school, though. We'll get there.
What's your degree in?
So Andrew Loft actually graduated from the University of Miami. So my fight song in high school is da na 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 na. Well, I don't know if you can have the rights to that or whatever. I don't know if we can sing it. Or
I don't know who Andrew
That's
Loft is.
University. I know University of Miami's fight song better than Florida State's fight song.
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wow. So that was
Like
my first exposure to like
Nice.
Florida universities, and then Christopher, my younger brother.
Yeah.
Huge Tim Tebow fan.
Yeah.
So he
Okay.
was a fan
Yeah.
of Florida before I was
Right.
even looking
yeah.
at Florida State.
Yeah.
The
Honestly,
Gators, yeah.
my number one was College of William and Mary.
Ooh.
No, it's
College
it's a
Tribe.
Ivy League public
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
like
Right.
up there.
Green and yellow.
Florida State.
Green
is
and
better.
yellow. It opened me up. Like it really was like if you really want a swath of the world,
Right.
get out of the state of Virginia.
Right,
Like it was the only
right.
out of state school I was looking at.
That's
Why?
wild.
Go ahead, Coach.
Because the school she was looking at, their nickname is the Tribe. And the video, I mean, and what got her interested in hip hop was the documentary on the Tribe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes
Ooh, I've
sense.
never made that connection.
Right,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah, because I'm sure thinking
That's
to myself, out of
touching.
all the schools you could have
Yeah.
went to, and I get you wanting to get out of VA, even though you got some great schools in VA.
Great
Florida
schools in
State,
VA.
out of all of them, but I mean,
Thank
maybe
goodness I didn't go to Charlottesville.
subliminally.
Right. Tallahassee.
Yeah, I mean,
Gonna pass her going to school in Florida?
Yeah,
Yes.
I really thought so. Moving from Tallahassee to St. Louis, I really thought St. Louis was going to be something like the next Austin. I want to get in on it before the boom and whatnot.
hell no.
But I'm seeing that
quite.
Tallahassee is actually like maybe closer to Austin for being not only a capital of a very big red state,
Mhm.
but a college town.
Right.
Making it this like liberal blue epicenter. And
Name the schools, because all I know FAMU,
FAMU, Florida State, and
FAMU,
TCC.
Florida State, TCC. What's
Things
TCC?
are open late in Tallahassee.
No
like,
doubt, no doubt.
like I'm talking like you
Damn
can get
right.
sushi until like 2 and 3 in the morning. There's nowhere here in town
Damn
that
right,
in this
no.
metropolis that you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, but the other thing too, though, a pandemic really messed up a lot of stuff here. Like, cause stuff used to stay open late. Hell, you could go to
Yeah.
Drunken Fish
You
at
could
1
go to Schnucks
midnight,
at
get some good
1 in the
sushi.
morning, and
Like,
when
Central West
COVID
End.
hit, I was like, great, I'll
Oh.
just go to the grocery store when no one's there. Oh,
No.
you guys are closing at 8 to clean
Yeah.
the store.
Yeah, yeah, and they've done that
But-
ever since. And the latest they stay open is 10 o'clock now. It's
I'm not
it's bullshit.
even saying that like I recognize that all that kind of got pulled back
Mm.
because of health reasons for like being too much on your staff to be open that late and
Right,
whatnot.
right.
But it's like
Some people needed those hours, especially people like me.
It's
who
also
would
a
work
matter
those off hours.
about-
That's when I shop.
exactly. I think it's also a matter about like support within the for whatever business, like the
Right,
follow through
right.
on the concept or like
Yeah.
Business model.
Yeah.
What was your degree in?
International affairs with a focus in political science, and then like I said, I had enough public education to go in with extra credits to be able to get a second degree in marketing.
Wow. What was your plans with the political science?
Dude,
with the marketing?
I just knew I wanted to study like world cultures and world religions and like travel. So it was interesting because I went into international affairs kind of like, all right, I'll figure it out as I go along, and it was more of a choose your own adventure major
Yeah.
instead of like going out with like a specific like
Agenda.
this is what you can do with it sort of thing. I just took things I was interested in, and so instead of having a majority of political science classes, I just ended up having more than the rest
Now,
of them.
can
in
you
that class.
explain to
Yeah.
to regular people, including myself, exactly what political science
Yeah.
is?
Yeah,
Because when people hear the term, they get confused.
sure.
I love it.
I took some philosophy classes leading up to graduating that were, kind of creating almost a structure of between interpersonal relationships. Like it's the study of that on like a systemic scale, like through the infrastructure of government or just systems in place between all of us, and also like I even studied like what real violence is between like a structure or something, a hierarchy or power dynamics in gender. Political science, I think it's just the interpersonal of our systems, like kind of how these systems work. And like for me, it was a real big understanding of like, oh, the systems don't work.
Right,
like that was the
right.
kind of the huge thing I walked
Were
away
you
from.
thinking like, you can get a job at like the UN or something?
So, for me, the intersection between marketing and political science brought me to, I'll be a lobbyist for the good guys. Like, I'll sell these revolutionary ideas to politicians to influence that, there'll be, hey, we can actually do this renewable science thing a lot cheaper than that guy's telling you we can. And like, but like, that's there's not really,
Wasn't feasible.
well, it's just, how do you make a living on that? Like, it's, and it's, so I didn't go, I also thought I needed a law degree to be a lobbyist. Yeah. But, so I was done with, after like 16, 20 years of education, I was done.
What are qualifications for a lobbyist?
I don't think you necessarily need a law degree. I think you need a lobby license. But that's what I thought maybe I was gonna be getting into. But really, I have had the opportunity to travel through people to people in high school, and the motto of people to people was create peace through understanding. Okay. And it was made by Eisenhower after World War II because he realized that part of the conflict was because each of these countries' peoples haven't really gotten to know the other, and so sending adolescents abroad to understand like what happened in the concentration camps, what happened at Hiroshima, like, but also like see the world and live in it instead of being a tourist of it.
Right. Okay. And Dwight was a great president. Question for you: why, with you being, if you wanting to be a lobbyist, what organizations would you back, and then how?
Yeah, the good guys, right?
Yeah.
It was like for the renewable sciences. Like, I'm not super good at applied sciences, but like I feel like if I could communicate the science, then Okay. Do you have another question? You seemed like you had another question.
Oh no, go ahead and speak. I got many questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what brought you from there to St. Louis? I know you said your grandmother was here, but you just, because you thought this was going to be.
The next Austin. Yeah. I wanted to see, I had only known like the touristy stuff whenever I visited my grandma. I didn't know that there was like these different neighborhoods. It was cool to recognize, like we've got the Grove and South City and like the Old North and whatnot, like to really discover the different pockets that make up St. Louis. And, and then I realized it's all so separate, like from there's, and then that like other places have all these different pockets of neighborhoods, but they have more rail going through all of it. So it's been very interesting to, I moved here in 2015. Okay. And I feel like the month
8 years. There you go.
Yeah, something like that.
About to be on 9.
Yeah, it was, for me, I was hearing St. Louis in the news for the first time. Like, not having lived here, but always having visited here, I, was...
You started paying attention.
Well, no one was ignoring Ferguson.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, like a month or two after I moved here, then Trump was nominated. Oh. In college, I couldn't fathom anything like that happening, and I feel like... Yeah, it was like, now it's like real but not real. Yeah. Like it didn't seem real at all.
Because you usually people have their, let's say, their places, right? Mm-hmm. Donald Trump was a celebrity, so his place was in celebrity. It wasn't politics. So when he blurred the images, now everybody knows everything's fake. Mm-hmm. You can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah, truth is relative.
Truth is relative. It doesn't really matter.
You always could be. It wasn't from that fool,
but in a sense, though, right? Nobody changed big time jobs like that in the public eye.
Yeah.
You've never seen anybody do that.
Make a big, huge career change like that. Yeah. If we think about it, we could think of some folks, but on that scale, it's crazy.
No. Yeah. But that lets you know that the system is flawed, right? All you need is power, money, and influence to be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. Yeah. But you see that with anybody. You see that in hip hop, right? Power, influence, and popularity. You can do whatever you want until you get in trouble.
He was more successful at what Ross Perot did. That's basically what it was. Ross Perot was the same thing.
Yeah.
But Ross Perot wasn't known before he ran, though. We didn't know Ross Perot.
I'm saying he didn't have any political acumen.
Yeah.
He's just a businessman. But he's a better businessman.
He was a way better businessman and not this evil racist.
The question that I had for you was, in the people-to-people program, what would you say would be the one not incident per se, but the one experience that opened your eyes the most or stands out the most?
Yeah, so I think
How long were you in the program?
I went 3 years.
Okay.
So it was it's a really great question because my first I have two answers, I
Which
guess.
program is this?
People to people. It was
Okay.
like we would study months leading up to like a 2 or 3 week trip.
Oh, okay.
And so the first trip was to more Western Europe, like Italy, France, and England.
Okay.
And then the next year I went to Japan for 2 weeks, and so that was really outside my comfort zone.
Mhm.
Like I just knew I enjoyed the program. And that really, I didn't know Japanese, still haven't learned Japanese. I know some phrases here and there. And I truly appreciate the culture. You know, I learned, Hiroshima was like huge. That was huge to see. Like, oh, like, wow. Like, I know Japanese, like, loves American culture now. But, like, the fact that that could happen after such a incident and
after
like
we did that to them.
and to recognize more about how the rest of the world sees the United States and recognizes that your government is different than your people.
Yeah.
That I think was huge.
Right.
To be able to see a different way of life separating those two things, so that it's like an example that it can happen. And also, I mean, like seeing Auschwitz, and then also the whole parts of Eastern Europe that were like remade after bombings and stuff was like really impactful too. The different, how vastly the different Eastern European countries are, like in such a small space too.
Wow. Okay. So this must have been when I left because I had to leave for a quick second.
No worries.
People to people taking you to Auschwitz in Japan. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
What's people to people? What is it?
Eisenhower realizing after World War II that in order to prevent such a conflict again,
I remember
to
you said that.
create peace through understanding and sending adolescents abroad to really absorb and learn another.
So he started that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you? And
I don't think this program exists anymore. I
Wow.
think the financial crisis in 2007,
yeah,
Obama
Bush.
era.
No, that was Bush. Wasn't that
Okay.
Bush? Because Bush is the
No,
one that started
sorry.
the recession.
2007 is when I went. I think it ended like a couple, like when I was in college. So between 2011 and 2015 is when
Okay.
it ended. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get to St. Louis.
Yeah.
You're enjoying your time. What was like the first thing you do here? Like the first big, like what's the first career that you had when you started?
I was working for Eddie Bauer. Yeah,
Okay.
I worked for Eddie Bauer for like 5-ish years.
in the Galleria.
I've worked at pretty much all the locations actually. I didn't
Okay.
start in the Galleria. I wish I had.
Uh-huh.
But
Me
it
too.
was, I learned kind of a lot of how to sell. It was a lot of like interpersonal marketing. But it was also like learning like really intense customer service. Like Eddie Bauer is like a over 100-year company now. They made the world's or not the world, but the United States first down coats because
Right.
they're already doing it in Europe, and they created a great acronym to learn how to sell. Getting to know your customer, which I think is really great. Like getting to understand their needs and wants. Interact with multiple customers, multiple products. Demonstrate how it's used, and then other product knowledge, and then earn their loyalty.
Okay.
And that just spells out guide as a great acronym for.
It's an easy acronym.
First, it's super easy to apply it to bud tending, just because it's like really getting to, don't just sell them something that has the highest number on it.
No.
Sell them
What
what
they
they're
need.
looking for. Yeah, get to know them, understand them, and then being like, you could, I switched out some of the things like interacting with multiple methods of consumption, and yeah.
Okay. So is that where that went to? Or did you go from Eddie Bauer to cannabis, or?
Eddie Bauer, I tried to sell cars briefly, and then I've been doing yoga now for like 11 years, so I went into wellness.
Ooh, there you go.
Kind of learned that after selling cars, I have to
Damn
be
right.
like all in on whatever I'm doing in
Right.
terms of employment.
Yeah.
How was car selling?
Not great.
hear
I
you.
love mini. I still love minis so much. I really
you
want a
work for?
mini.
Who'd you work for?
I worked for a mini, but I wasn't necessarily good at like selling cars. Yeah, I could sell outerwear. But not selling cars is like different.
I
It's like
hear you.
selling a house.
Shout out to Eddie Bauer. I used to do credit card scams in the 90s.
Credit card scams?
That's what he said.
As with
In the 90s, it was very easy to do credit card scams.
And how would Eddie Bauer? Eddie Bauer had credit cards back then?
They still
Yeah,
do.
shopping.
Yeah, they still do.
He had great
Wow.
clothing, coat, jackets, coats. Like
I
you
never
said.
liked their gear, and I'm not going to front since you brought it back there. I worked.
Okay.
You're a nice bomber.
What instead?
I worked. Basically Tommy Hill, Polo, Nautica. I take that over that. And with Eddie Bauer, I worked for Eddie Bauer, and I worked for them for like a short amount of time. Definitely not as long as you, and I didn't learn as much as you did. But what is it? I thought they were very racist. My manager was racist. Wasn't too many people of color working there. I did not feel comfortable working there or being in the store. It was not a good experience.
Gratefully, that wasn't how it was when I was going through. I have some friends, like my friend Nick. He was really cool, great at what he did too.
Were you in sales?
And
Were you in sales?
Okay.
Oh.
No, I brought
a sales associate.
I was sales associate. I put stuff on the floor, rang people out. Did the same thing for Timberland. And when I worked at Timberland in the Galleria, that was great working there. We actually closed that store down. And this was years before you got here, but we closed that store in the Galleria, and that was actually fun and a great experience.
Right.
But Eddie Bauer, and I worked at other retail stores. But so you do you go from that to cars, and then you go to from cars to
like yoga.
okay, and that's something you still do to this day.
I'll be teaching intro classes this year.
Okay,
I haven't figured out a place to do that specifically. I taught I got my start with Elevate last year.
Right.
So just trying to have goals of teaching more intro classes to be more of like a conversation around yoga.
Nice.
So I got my yoga teacher training certificate in 2020, and it was like February 2020. So the momentum of like having freshly had that knowledge, it just like there was no momentum after that. And I know a lot of people feel about that in their life, like, oh, I can relate. There was something that had momentum, and it was just right there. Yeah.
My cousin just went to Thailand last year to get certified training.
Yeah.
In some kind of form of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
All the way to Thailand?
Yeah, I mean, my friend was in Indonesia last year, and just her journeys of doing the 200-hour in that experience.
Damn.
Like, yeah.
How intense is it? Like, what do you need to know?
It's so it's like.
Break down yoga. Just break it
Yeah.
down real
So
quick.
yoga is a connection of mind, body, and spirit through breath and body movement.
There it
So
is.
you're not trying to, contort yourself, but you're trying to kind of redevelop those connections. Like kids do little baby yoga all the time when they're growing up, and the somatic releases and whatnot. And so I think to learn, and that's why I'm a little bit hesitant myself to really dive into it, is I feel like I don't know enough about the anatomy. But it's also learning kind of the public speaking of being able to guide through these positions all together with breath, and like being able to lead someone through a class.
Are you teaching classes now?
I will be soon.
Yeah.
That's on the list for 2024.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You'll do it,
Okay.
and you will get it.
So post or during the pandemic in 2021, I applied for Suede and got in with them through the job fair. So that's where my bud tending journey started, was in the Grove.
Suede was the first one you jumped on with. Okay.
Yeah, I realized on the way
Wow.
here you didn't know that.
I did not. And
Yeah.
see, and just to bring you all up to speed, I know this wonderful woman from Field State, from my interactions with Field State and working with her there. But okay, so you started off with Suede. How was Suede?
Suede was all right. It was hard for me to go from all this retail knowledge that I had from Eddie Bauer, and that not being like kind of accepted as like some tidbits of things that worked really well. Like it just felt like instead of treating the cannabis dispensary experience like a retail experience, which it is, it seemed more like service industry. It just
Made more sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it was a really great start. Like I learned a lot, like through the products, through the patients, through the cannabis knowledge. I did not know that like level of science before then. And then I had a lot of ideas for marketing because I was seeing the product quality decline. I was seeing, and having Suede having that connection to Sense, like you'd think that it'd be a little bit, you know, these companies, I didn't really know at the time, have these huge ebbs and flows. And then
as in like good product, bad product, good product.
Just ebbs and flows and how the organization functions, and grows and develops, and you know, the good ones hold on to what works and grow into what works, and you know, those that aren't, you know, prioritizing what's needed to be prioritized are gonna have more downs than ups, I find. Like, so I was seeing like sales slow down at the Grove, and I had all these ideas for marketing, and I was like, I really, you know, would love to get in with someone for marketing. And like, I had run into Ron at Field State, at the St. Charles, like,
Canada Convention.
It was just a Field State consumption event for their clients.
Oh, in St. Charles.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That was actually where I met Adolphus Bush. Like, I had never met him for the first time. I had never heard his name.
He's invested. Okay.
Well, it was just I reconnected with my friend Ron at a Field State event, and then like a year later, he was like, "Hey, we have an application open."
Yeah.
I was actually in the Netherlands at the time, kind of experiencing that European cannabis culture.
Okay.
And realizing like, wow, I know so much about like all these different cannabinoids, all these different terpenes. Back in this, from the knowledge back in the States, and this isn't something that's like readily available at these coffee shops where you're getting cannabis, like in Amsterdam or Den Haag, or
Would they just give you a menu? No.
there's a menu.
Oh, yeah.
There's like
So dope.
there's some information, but it's not like there's no testing. There's no, you know, sometimes you can see the product. You
It's
know,
really
no one's
guess.
talking about CBD.
Yeah. Just guessing out there.
It was
No
closer
guessing.
to a
I'm
gray
telling
market.
you.
It was closer to a gray market experience, and it was just, you know, it made me appreciate what was here. But you know, so while I was in the Netherlands using my PTO from Suede, Field State reached out and was like, so I applied there, and then they, you know, they were like, yeah, we want you to do the manager marketing things, and it was always a matter of like, oh, we gotta get these operations straight before we can, you know, really focus on marketing and this role that like we did and didn't make for you. Like, so I'm at the point where I'm like, I would like a job description, please.
Yeah.
Like,
See, and,
I need a job description to feel comfortable here, please.
This is perfect, and I got to bring King J in because that is his level of expertise.
Yes, sir.
This is the gentleman that used to he was a manager at Mint Dispo, and my question to you is.
By St. Peter's.
St.
Yep.
Peters,
Yeah,
right off the 70.
I've been there once. I had a good experience.
Yeah.
That's good.
What do you like the stuff that she's saying?
Yeah.
Does it sounds very, you used to this, or does it make sense? Yeah.
Nah, for sure.
Okay.
And Mint is a MSO, right? Multi-state operator.
Yeah, they started in Arizona.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I would say the Mint would be one of those companies that's going to just stay afloat. They're not really going to have too much up and downs because they're buying everybody's product and they're selling in bulk. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they'll be
Okay.
They're going to be all right.
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed like anything that I liked on the market, I could find there. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, and that was the cool thing about Field State too is that Jimmy there is such a great buyer, and he knows the menu, and he knows the people making the product, and he knows his clients.
Right.
So it was, that was a really cool thing about like, yeah, all right, it's a half hour from South City or more to go to Field State, but
Right.
you know that if you're trying something new, you're gonna be able to pick from high quality options. Like, you're gonna be good with whatever you get, instead of being like having and it was great that he also had different price points and stuff. So Jimmy was making a stellar menu at Field State.
And what was Jimmy's job at Field State?
Buyer.
He was the buyer. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is my question to you and King J. King J, first question is, who is the buyer, and is that someone not the owner? And did you see like the things that she was talking about with the thing that she was talking about with Suede, like the negative aspects? Did you see that as well at Mint?
Not as much since it's just opening.
Okay.
I'll say the manager was the buyer.
Okay.
They spend a lot of time going around to other dispensaries and seeing what's hot, and then they'll go off of that. Or seeing,
And LeafLink.
Oh, absolutely.
LeafLink.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like
LeafLink.
Leafly.
Yeah. The website where it just tells you about whatever a strain or
where
plant you
where
want to
the
It
where the
tells you which-
wholesale online market for most companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Just
not all
to-
companies because like not everyone's gonna post everything on.
Right. So they were using
Yeah.
Google and Leafly.
Does Leafly still give you like a
So
dispensary location?
not Leafly, it's Leaf Link.
Leafly.
Leaf Link. Oh my
yeah.
bad.
No, you're good.
But people use Leafly too.
What is
Yeah.
it? Okay, and is Leafly the one that gives you like tells you exactly where the dispos are? Which one is that?
Leafly.
Weed Maps also does.
There it is.
Yeah.
Weed Maps is connected to
Yeah.
Leafly.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Cool.
so-
I didn't quite know that.
Shout out
Yeah.
Weed Maps, man. They'd help me out on a bunch of trips, especially
yeah.
in Canada. Oh,
Yeah.
Vegas. Everywhere.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Canada. When you been to Canada?
Amsterdam, Canada for sure.
Oh,
Canada,
you told me
Weed
that.
Maps definitely helped in Canada.
Oh yeah,
for
Canada's
sure.
the shit. They already know time, especially BC. That BC bud.
Oh, dope.
Oh, the Pacific Northwest. But okay, so you're doing your thing at you're at Field State. You're doing your thing there.
Yeah.
How does that go?
Yeah, the marketing manager role there was really cool because I was really able to, tap into the cannabis culture for real and represent, really good product. Like because of how much I had seen like the quality ebb and flow at Suede, experiencing robust cannabis being, that twice certified organic, it really was a different flower. And then I was able to hang with folks who had been growing cannabis or
Right.
moving cannabis in any way.
Yeah.
And they
So-
were, comparing robust to that homegrown
Bet.
gray market stuff and the quality of it.
I know what it is, but explain it to folks what Robust is.
Yeah, the sister company to Field State, the twice certified cannabis, organic cultivation.
And so they
Quote,
get
unquote.
so Field State.
I don't know if they still. I think they have both certifications still.
Right.
It's grown in Cuba, Missouri.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where they would get the 100% of their cannabis, right?
Not Field State. No, Field State had a bunch of different cultivators.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Robust
but
was just their
Robust
biggest
was their
one.
sister company,
Okay.
and able to run more promotions on the Robust than they were the other product.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. To me, my top brands, if I'm going to a dispensary, are Vibe and Amaze, which we
Right.
called
Yes, sir.
Amaz.
You know,
It's
you
a
know about that
Maz.
one.
Yeah, the vibe and the main for sure.
Maz.
No, it's just
It's
like
Target-
instead of
Target
Target.
and Target.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then Robust, and I mean, I've definitely had some Vivid product. C4 I've been buying a lot lately too.
Okay.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
So what? How long were you there?
I was at Field State a little over a year. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you leave?
I think it was a similar interesting issue. Like Suede only had the 5 locations, right? The guy who's the buyer is also like the regional manager. He had a lot of hats on. So
Right.
the
It's
main
a lot of locations.
yeah. So
And I never hear anybody say Suede has that shit. Like I never hear anybody talk so much for a place that has 5 different locations. It's kind of crazy.
So I think Suede's the disconnect for me was like the owners not consuming cannabis in the ways that their patients do.
Exactly.
And then with Field State, the owners and operators, everyone's enjoying like their patients enjoy. Are
Right.
definitely connoisseurs of everything.
Right.
For me, like I said, I was continuing to be told operations were priority, and of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
I was just also seeing as the marketing manager section of things, I was communicating what I needed and was also not receiving direction at the same time. So it was really, it was a really hard disconnect and misalignment of values in a couple of ways. And, but I think my real cannabis community is closer to South City anyway. And that was, I think, a part of the disconnect too, was I wasn't being ushered into the North City cannabis community.
Right.
Like Nick could have helped me out with that anytime, but that's whatever.
Me personally, my interactions with Field State, I'm not gonna lie, they held me down, and my early events, was it my first one? My second NBA Finals event, they sponsored that. They sponsored another event that I did. So their attempt to be in the community was there, and I noticed that. It's just it wasn't much of it. It was just like they put up a soft jumper with no follow through. You know, it's just that's basically.
Yeah, I
it
was
none at
definitely
all.
trying to do the follow through, and I was
Yeah.
seeing my extra steps being seen as like non-essential.
Right.
Talking too
I got
much,
the same
saying
thing
too
at the
much.
Mint.
Go
I
ahead.
feel like that was part of it, man.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they were just like half stepping, just like taking baby steps, and I'm like, you know what we can do? It's like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
like who's in control of this? Like, why
Right.
don't we have a marketing team? Why don't we have a, you know, why is this
'Cause
on
it
one
sells
person?
itself.
Yeah.
And it does sell itself, but it's like, so what am I here for?
Yeah.
What am I doing? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm doing this extra. I'm busting my ass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, for what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
One thing I noticed talking to you, Jay, and talking to you, Ace, it just seems like, and this ain't just. I don't think Maxx deals with this in his business because he owns his own company, so he works for himself, so he doesn't have to deal with this. But those of us who work for someone else, it feels like it's a lot of it, especially y'all in that career path, a lot of running in circles. You know what I'm saying? You run in circles. You got good ideas. You give them to them. They hear them, and then you're still doing the same fucking thing. Like it's
It's
just
the blind leading the blind, bro. For real.
yeah. That's man.
For me, when I think about it, I recognize when the managers maybe had a really good idea that I did want to then follow through on, and then I would respond back with like, hey, in order to get this done, this is what I need. And that's where things kind of broke down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where things broke down with
Yep.
me.
Well, we'll do it. Yep. And as soon as you ask for what you need.
The follow through.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
it. You know what
No
I'm saying?
follow-through.
I'm asking for somebody to do it. Can you please do your job? You know what I'm saying?
You care too much.
And that's what it felt like. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
not
I felt
your
like
company.
I felt like, you know,
It's not yours.
I
Right,
felt like they
there's-
were trying to make it.
Businessman over here.
Not for
Go
real.
ahead, man.
I felt like they were just trying to make it like a restaurant job. You know, just come in, do your job, and leave. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? Just
right.
follow the rules.
Be
You
a
know,
drone.
Right.
they're a puppet.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
But-
like being
and
a
I don't
puppet.
want to hear if the rules aren't working.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
If they don't work, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Good God.
One thing I want to say though, right, is this is how we are as humans. So like you can't knock that, because like Maxx, don't knock him for trying to do something good at somebody else's thing, because that's what we do. Like we'll bust our ass for somebody else and hope some way we'll get. You know
Compensated for
what I'm saying? We'll get
Yeah.
compensated. We'll get credit. We'll get acknowledgments. We'll
Yeah.
get something for it. That's how we
Yeah.
are as humans.
Exactly.
And then hopefully, the smart ones in the back of their mind are like, okay, look, let me take what I'm learning. It seems like this is what Ace is doing. Let me take what I'm learning from this place and take it to another place, or let me take it and start my own shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just I get why. You know what I'm saying? Shit,
Yeah,
I
and
get
that's
it.
where I'm at.
I get it too. I
You
had
take this
I
and
had the
demolish it.
same experience at Enterprise.
For sure. For sure.
Okay, how long was you there?
I was at Enterprise almost 4 years.
Word,
Yeah, I
okay.
was about to be a branch manager. I was second assistant manager at the airport, and then I went to another location, and
That's
I
what's
was
up.
studying to be.
Oh yeah, we
a
talked about that on the show.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
branch manager. So I had ideas. I was intrigued. I was trying to help the company. They don't care.
Right, they don't.
They don't care.
I wonder what that
Like,
is. I
all
wonder what
that
that's
is-
about,
super
man.
facts.
It's because we're too low on the totem pole to change anything anyways. Because if I give you an idea, right, you got to tell somebody. They got to tell somebody. They got to tell somebody.
sure.
So by the time you get to the top, it's going to be like,
Once they said no face for her, whether you on the phone or in person,
Yeah.
and your hair can't be long, I was like, man,
That's
I'm not even
crazy.
going. I'm not even gonna apply, and I was overqualified.
yeah.
That was Enterprises, I think.
Yeah.
No face
That's
for her.
crazy.
Silly
No
as
face
hell.
for her.
What are they, the Yankees?
Hey,
Hey,
no name
that's
on the
their
back. No
international
nothing.
rule with them.
Word?
You cannot have facial
mean,
hair
they
and
have-
no long hair.
They have changed now. It's not
Yeah.
as strict,
Oh,
but certain things still apply. You know, but I mean, if you run into that problem like you did, Jay, right?
Yeah.
Ace, you run into that problem. The next solution is to what? Go to the next company and give them the same love and energy that you got,
Start the next
or you do your own thing.
Oh, I'm finna do my own thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
We
Talk
outside.
about it, boy. Talk about it.
find a company that pays a lot and do a little bit of work.
Parallel to it
Right.
all.
Oh, absolutely.
Stupid. Okay, so one thing I gotta ask too before we got a little extended time, y'all. We gonna go till it's 3:11 now. We're gonna go till 3:30 at the very latest, letting y'all know. So we shout out to the executive producer. We got some EP. We got some OT today. But my question is, before we get back into your journey. What is your smoking technique? What is this? Like, you make your hand a fucking bong? Like, what do you got going over here? What is that?
I recently heard it's actually like a technique that came from India. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
India
yeah.
has very interesting. I'm learning cannabis culture, but apparently they believe, and this is not why I do it, but they believe that like when you put your mouth to the piece, it like makes the sacred cannabis more impure or something like that. But my friend Dawn, the cannabis advocate, showed me the script.
Oh, I know Dawn. I had Dawn on
Yes,
the show. Yeah.
and she,
Shout out to Dawn.
it's kind of a COVID measure. Like, and for
Right.
me, it's not necessarily. I just don't smoke a lot of blunts as well. It adds extra air as well into the flow of smoke, and just like if there's no, I roll joints with a filter with a crutch.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
So
Hold on, what's this method? While I got this blunt, I want to try this.
You ain't see
okay.
what she was doing?
It's
Peep what she was doing.
yeah. So making a little pipe with your hand. So I like to put it between my ring and middle finger, and then I will kind of make like a spiral with my fingers around it and kind of close it up enough that the air goes in. And then you can kind of adjust the airflow.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. It may.
You don't get close.
And that way, if you feel like you're around a bunch of people and you're passionate, it's not as weird with COVID on the rise or whatever. But also, it's better on your throat, and also like. It may burn a little irregular with that technique, depending on.
What is a clip right here? Only on High Off the Glass do you find new ways to effing smoke. Right on, Ace.
Thanks, Dawn.
Go ahead. Right on.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Right on, Dawn.
credit Dawn on that one.
I want to do this shit.
Yeah, I love Dawn.
Dawn,
I met Dawn at my first cannabis event in 2019.
Which event was that? Canoween? What was it?
In 2019, it was the day of the Stanley Cup parade downtown,
shit. Okay.
and it was off a spot in Washington. I could not tell you the name of the event or anything like that.
It was a good time?
It was, yeah, it was not like, it was this time where I think the vote had just passed, and so there was a certain area for the people who had their med cards.
Yeah.
But then there was also people selling some product, and there was only one cultivator there from somewhere out.
It was the mayor's ball.
It was not that classy. I couldn't tell you the event. I just remember Dawn.
Right.
Her and I hit it off, and then years later, I'm doing 420 at Suede, and she's got a table with Curador with head change, and she's seeing me do my thing on 420, so it was amazing.
Real talk, Dawn has been doing her thing in the cannabis industry. I've said this before. When I started doing my digging in 2019 and started finding folks. She's one of the people I think I found her in 2020, and that sister had been doing it for a minute.
Yeah,
in the
she's
cannabis
been
industry
advocating
here,
for patients for a long
Shout out
time.
to her. Major.
Yeah.
What's her name? Okay, so you leave Phil State.
Yeah.
You're taking the knowledge from there. Where do you go from there?
So I am definitely looking forward to. I have some concepts for a cannabis accessory company.
Okay.
But presently, next up is a podcast and production company with my friend Darian Wigfall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. There you go.
He's a producer.
Cool. Where you doing it at?
What's that?
Where are you doing the podcast at?
I think it's he's got the equipment, and we're pretty on the fly with location.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
A mobile.
Yeah. Well, he's got the space at his place that we could use,
Okay.
and then excited to kind of do it where it's necessary or whatever.
Just to let you know, if you're ever looking for a studio, I know a great one. It's called Overtime Studios, and a great EP. That's
OT
that man.
on OT.
Oh, ma'am, you would love it if you all ever wanted a stable home. This would be a place for you. And I think that is great, Ace.
Yeah.
You have the voice for
Thanks.
it. You have the knowledge for it. You would be great for it. I got to talk about this, too, definitely before we slide. You are ex-KDHX DJ. And KDHX, for those of you that don't know, in St. Louis or out, it is an independent radio station. It's been around, I think, since the early 80s.
Community radio station in 1987.
87,
Yeah,
there you go.
independent community radio station.
Late 80s community independent radio station. Very dope. I mean, those artists that we mentioned earlier in the show, they've been on there, on her show. There's several hip-hop, several rock, punk, all types of DJs on there. But the radio station itself seems like it has imploded from within, and I apologize. I was not able to read your post that you put on IG. So please tell the people, like, what the hell happened and what's going on with you with KDHX?
Like a couple of things. You know, our systems are only as good as their leaders, right?
Right.
And you know, whether someone is a poor leader or not, or whether they're just exhibiting poor leadership, you know, I'm willing to separate those two. And I think it also boiled down to poor communication. So I think, you know, there's just a misalignment of values.
What happened?
It's hard to say what one thing happened, because I think it, you know, some of the conflict or some of the things that weren't lining up started before I even got there. Wow. So I only know my experience.
I'll definitely speak on that.
So for myself, so I had a radio show, Sonic Space, on Monday mornings. Yeah. Yes. And so Sonic Space kind of continues in my life in other ways.
There you go.
And I just was not feeling very free to express myself authentically.
Okay.
And I didn't want to represent a station that was showing through actions.
They shackled you?
There's just the punitive measures that were happening and why they were happening. Instead of having a full conversation with all of the DJs and being open to fluid communication, it was just a very like authoritarian type of leadership in terms of
turn corporate.
Yeah, I keep hearing that, and I'm like, yeah, it's a nonprofit though.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm like trying to wrap my head around all that. Like, I have my own conspiracy theories about like what's the real, you know, puppet master right here. But like, for me, I really appreciate KDHX. I appreciate what it's supposed to be standing for, right. And like, I want to do the real work of community connectedness, like through actually being out authentically instead of having to represent a station that's kind of ignoring their community right now. And, you know, it seemed like was getting further and further disconnected from their internal community.
Right.
Well, how long were you there?
I started there in 2016.
Oh, so
yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, and I did college radio before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've always been on the airwaves a little bit. Is that where you feel your calling is? Is that your niche?
I didn't, you know, it wasn't something that I realized on my own. People were saying like, you got a cool voice, you should definitely be in broadcast. I'm just realizing, okay, I have this public speaking, you know, I don't know if I can say it's a skill. It's something I do.
No doubt.
Maybe it's because I don't have a filter. But
that's a good thing. Yeah.
So this podcast and production company with my friend Arian, I think, is a really great way to go about it. I had a joke these past couple of years that I want to bring together people and kind of elevate the vibration of our culture to kind of focus more on the environment and saving the world.
Right.
So that culturally, that's where we're going instead of this capitalistic motive.
Right.
That like props up these systems that don't work. Like if we're all trying to raise the vibration, that will eventually influence policy. So that's plan A. Plan B is become a comedian and then president. But, you know, taking improv this year, going to be teaching yoga this year.
Oh, you serious? You for real trying to do comedy now?
Yeah, I'm taking improv. We're going to see how it goes. I mean, I think my comedy is more like say the truth and it's funny because it's true.
Oh, okay. Yo, yeah. For real. I am here for it.
I did stand up for a while.
Oh my goodness.
And I think comedians are modern day philosophers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so Sound Activism is the production company with Darian that we're working on to produce podcasts, music videos. He's working on a documentary about his family's lineage and connection to the slave trade. And his last name is the same as the family that owned his family. So been diving into that lineage and producing that documentary. I have a friend who wants to explore her connection to Bohemia. And so, you know, producing these narratives and the storytelling to, connect all of us to each other sort of thing. And benefit events is definitely on the list of, like, getting people together in music and art, but also action.
Damn,
yeah.
That is crazy, though.
Yeah. for that.
Yeah,
I was going to ask
Right,
specifically
follow-up.
what are you guys going to talk about?
Yeah, so that's the sound activism is like the broad thing. So I brought my notes. The mission statement for sound activism is to elevate the vibration of our universal community through conscious creation, and like furthermore, like by bringing people together through thought and art in order to positively, intentionally, consciously make moves to better the future of our world, community, and environment. So
you guys having conscious conversations.
Yeah, and recording them and sharing them. Yeah, so High Context is the podcast, and its subtitle is a conversation about living a full spectrum life. So I know that you all know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just one thing.
No,
not at all. Not at all. That's deep.
Does your grandmother
And when do you
listen to
guys
this?
start?
We were going to be recording on Friday, but we had like a little change in location, so it's pretty much starting this week with the new moon and Capricorn for new moon of 2024. Big manifesting vibes. So
Okay, manifest it. Tell everybody where they can find it.
We're planning on all platforms. We haven't launched, but I have quietly parked the Instagram handles and everything like that. So High Context Podcast at High Context Podcast on Instagram and at Sound Activism on Instagram. I don't know how Sound Activism is y'all. Like,
you would
You
think,
heard it
but
here
that's
first.
not. But that's not something that somebody would think about all the time. You know, that's not a
man.
common.
I love double entendres.
No doubt. That is so. It really sounds like y'all on a straight movement. This isn't just we coming out with a podcast and whoop this and it's like a sound activism What is it?
Yeah,
Productions?
Production company.
It's
Just called Sound Activism, ideally, because ideally it is activism.
Yeah.
Like,
I just want to say, I'm going to put this out here right now formally. Ace, I have a background in film, and I know how to talk. So if y'all need anybody to do anything with that, please let me know.
I'm excited to get us all together. We're going to have you on. Sure. Yeah.
That documentary you guys are talking, I mean, you sound like y'all doing some big shit.
Oh, yeah,
Really
so Darian is going to be at the Lemon Symposium at the College of William and Mary, and that is a conversation about reconciliation.
Okay.
Because they're like one of the oldest universities. And
Darian, what's his name?
Darian Wigfall.
Okay.
Yeah, he just produced an EP.
Okay.
So some new music out there, the Professor EP.
Is he a rapper, singer?
He's a producer and DJ.
Okay.
And an activist. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to get him on the show.
No doubt.
Yeah. I want to have you on next month.
Oh, please.
On ours.
I'm
getting on the calendar now.
Yeah,
so,
you just let me know.
Yeah.
So to go back to the KDHX of it, real quick. So is the station done now, or are all the DJs being replaced? And most of the good DJs?
No, I have friends who are DJs.
Okay.
I have friends who left in solidarity with those who were dismissed.
Yeah, I got an email from She Beats, like she's gone.
Yeah, she's on to podcasting, and
you left, she left. I figured, this is it was like a mass exodus or whatever. I'm not, bring me up to speed.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where the leadership breakdown is like not kind of seeing that as a sign of like, I was seeing leaders taking things said or assumptions they made personally instead of trying to think for the organization's best interests. Like, that's my observation.
Right.
And I am, I believe, that KDHX, what it stands for, is going to come to fruition and everything. And, I just, right now, I'm not a part of it, and I'm on sabbatical. I'm looking forward to applying for a role there when such an opportunity comes available. Yeah.
It sounds like you still have love there.
Yeah, I have friends. I'm encouraging them to get a show there because it's like, get your voice out there, and you've heard my warning.
Yeah.
Like if you can, they're not gonna listen to me, so I'm not gonna spin my wheels and try to make moves where someone doesn't want me to make moves. And
maybe they'll listen to you. Is that why you send people there? Is that why? I'm just
the experience
surprised you sent people there.
I wasn't really, people I think were already in the momentum of getting there. I only have one friend who is hearing about all of this and then like, oh, I'll apply. And I'm like, dude, you have my blessing to have my old slot. Don't people are saying like you're a scab for doing that or whatever. Like,
Right.
you should be in solidarity. No one's right and no one's wrong.
Right.
All that matters is that there's a community radio station that brings our local artists to fruition, because we need to give St. Louis more love from St. Louis, like, in my opinion. And also, like, celebrate just all of us working as a community for something. And, you know, I know the recent mantra is, I'm here for the music. And it's like, yeah, but you could also be here for the community, being a community radio station.
No doubt. All right, well, look, we're about to shake this. God, this extra time here went by fast. So this was a really good episode. I knew it would be, but before we get out of here, more importantly, of what you have going besides that amazing production company that I can't wait to talk to you more about. What else is up deck in 2024 for Ace?
Yeah, the yoga teaching. I'm also an art model. So there's also the podcast is kind of the biggest thing right now. I'm also DJing at the Royale on Mondays, January 8th, and then 2 weeks later. And once in February on the 22nd. So I'm really excited about
there you go.
Yeah. So if you're in, very close by the Royale, tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. I'll be DJing. It's a casual vinyl night, so it's called Welcome to Sonic Space with Atomic Ace.
Come out.
Ace. I'm sorry, but the game is tomorrow.
Oh,
So
tell
what?
me
More
about the game.
importantly, come out to the Royale.
But I think they might be. I think
Support
they
the
might be
homie.
I think they're playing. They
Support
might
the
have it
homie.
on. I'll ask.
Huh?
There's a projector in the back.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, TVs
there we go.
inside. I don't know if you can hear
covered.
it,
Covered.
but
There you
but
go.
it's a pub. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, no, for real. She nailed it.
Show up to the Royale and see Ace do her thing.
Right, there
The
it is.
game will be on.
And you can watch the game.
Valley Sports Midwest.
Who?
Celtics and the Pacers.
It's 8 p.m. delayed,
sir.
so
Oh, God, no,
prioritize
no.
your night. All
National
good.
Championship.
The Celtics and the Pacers
College.
playing tomorrow.
Who
Yeah.
cares?
Whoa,
They just played them.
That's
And they're going to
fine.
beat them again.
That's fine.
And they're going to beat them again.
Nobody,
Right.
nobody
Thank you
cares.
so
that
much
they
for
beat the
having me.
Pacers.
Oh,
I
you
do.
are more than welcome. This was
I
amazing.
do.
I tell you one thing.
I don't.
I tell you one thing. Halliburton need to stop turning over that
He
ball.
had 4 turnovers.
He
Did
keeps
they
turning
drop
over the ball.
150 the other night?
For real.
Man, he had no turnovers in 2 weeks.
The next game, he ain't gonna have no turnovers.
Whoa.
And I bet Tatum don't have 30.
He won't be doing this.
Wait, against who? Indiana tomorrow night?
He gonna have 40.
Well, we'll talk about that.
It's gonna be
Yo,
a good game.
this was dope. Yo, thank you, Ace.
Thank you.
Ace.
I knew this. I knew this was gonna be
Appreciate it.
fresh.
Shout out Ace.
Oh, thank you, Miss Lady. Yo, amazing co-host. Max, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Nah, hey,
Where can
follow
they
me
find you?
on Instagram, Maxx Dollars Music. Found me, that's it.
You already know, King J Money.
Shout out to my son. Happy birthday on his 33rd birthday.
Oh, happy
shout
birthday
out,
to
happy birthday.
Coach
Happy
C.
birthday.
Which one? Which one?
My son Kwame Malik Hill.
Oh.
That's my first
Happy
one.
Kwame, happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Dunny.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, boy.
Yes, sir, protect the bag.
Protect it.
Yo,
Stay
yo,
stellar.
for real, y'all be safe. For Justin kicking my EP for myself, OThaGreat. This was dope. See y'all next week. NFL playoffs. We doing it all episode. Keep hooping. Keep smoking. Yeah.
Playoff